Hey guys, welcome to what I think is going to be a fairly short and sweet repot video. I only have a few plants to work on today, but the majority of them are removing an offset from an anthurium, which I don't do that often on camera. So I figured I would just kind of collect all the ones I need to do right now and do them all together with you. The other one is one that I want to try switching up the substrate for in the hopes of making it grow a little bit easier for me because it's historically been kind of a finicky plant for me, and also wanted to tweak my tree fern substrate a little bit and try it on one plant in particular, but they're all gonna get it just by association. But this one finicky plant, I was chatting with my friend Owen, and he has a propagation of that plant, and he's been kind of experimenting with substrate and lighting and stuff like that, and he's been growing it better than me, so I'm gonna follow his lead on that one. Part of the reason why I need to be removing offsets and in general just potting up propagations and cutting my plants is because some of you guys might know this, but Jing is going to be vending at the Secret Plant Show, I believe it's called, is in Vancouver, and it's in about a month's time. Other than the tropicals and ecuagenera pop-ups, there aren't too many houseplant events in Vancouver, so this is going to be one of the bigger ones. And the exciting thing is Jing is going to be sharing a booth with Hi or Midnight Garden or Hoffmanni Hi on Instagram, and he's coming all the way from, I think he's mainly based out of Vietnam, but also Australia, but either way, he's flying all the way across the world with his plants, and he's gonna be vending with Jing. And so she asked me if I wanted to sell with her, and I said I'll do at least one day with her. And then I was like, maybe I should check that I even have plants to sell. So luckily, I think I will have a good amount of seedlings to bring with me, but I like to include some one-off propagations whenever I sell plants. That's part of the reason why we're doing these divisions today. So I'm gonna show you each individual plant we're working on as we work on them. So they're gonna kind of be spread out throughout the video, but I thought we'd start by mixing up the substrate. So right now I am 100% out of soil. I only have tree fern and amendments, but for these plants in particular, that's completely fine. So in this bin, this is my normal tree fern bin. You can see at the bottom, there's some, maybe you can't see, no, you can see from this side that there's pon and perlite mixed in there. And then I just, before I started filming, went and grabbed some more tree fern. So basically the mix that Owen has been having really good success with on his most finicky plants is a mixture of tree fern, pumice, pon, and charcoal. I believe those are the only ingredients. Now, I don't use charcoal. I don't even have charcoal in the house. And it's not that I'm against using charcoal, but I just don't understand it enough to know, if I add it to my plant and it doesn't do well, will it be because of the charcoal leaching the nutrients or whatever? It's working really well for him, but I'm gonna leave charcoal out of my mix. And Owen's mix is very, very heavy on the inorganic components like pumice and pon. So I'm gonna be doing something kind of a little bit more chunky like that. He was mainly saying that when he made his mix chunkier and just added a lot more pumice to it, so even more pumice than that ratio that I just told you, he was getting roots on his plant that he wasn't getting before. So I'm going to be, okay. I am going to fill up almost the rest of this bin with pon and mix it up. So right now there's kind of a 50-50 mix on the bottom, and then straight up tree fern on top. This is not a scientific and very measured approach, but we're just gonna go by feel. And then the pon that we're using is basically the exact same recipe as in my DIY pon video. So this is not lechuza pon. The only difference is that I've added perlite to it to kind of bulk it up a little bit more, but it's fairly chunky. We're just gonna add a crap ton of it to this tree fern. It might be easier if I just pour it. No, it's not a good idea. Abort. Already this is looking so much more chunky than I normally do. Let's stop here for now, mix it, and then see how we feel. Okay, now that it's mixed up, I can safely say I can go more rocky on it. Here's a little checkpoint. So we're gonna add a bit more pon because I do have a photo from Owen as a reference of what his substrate looks like. And it is very, very rocky. This is starting to look a bit more like what I had envisioned, because one of the challenges I've been coming across since I've become busy and just been taking like a slight, like a half a step back from my collection, because I talked about this a couple videos ago, just like some life stuff that I've been going through. I haven't really been able to be as like in touch with my collection. So in the last few months when I water, I haven't been able to like be that detailed about checking each plant and watering just how much it needs. I'm just kind of like dumping a ton of water in there. And that might be some of the reason why some plants are getting wet root rot, not dry rot. And then like other times I'm letting them dry out. But this will at least, hopefully, in my mind, my goal is to eliminate, maybe not eliminate, but drastically reduce the chance of wet rot. I feel a bit like I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Just with everything that's been going on, it's been a season of some plants dying back, or like the plants that once looked really good don't look good anymore, and now I'm second guessing everything, and so I'm much more inclined to just like copy what someone else does. Checking the size to make sure everything got mixed up. I honestly feel like maybe I could go even rockier. Let's go a little bit more rocky. Okay, I think once this is mixed in, it'll be ready to go. Okay, so this is the final mix that we're going with. I'm actually quite excited to try this because I've never tried a tree fern substrate this rocky before. And if this works, because the DIY pond mix doesn't cost me all that much. So if I'm able to stretch my tree fern this much by using so little tree fern, just so much DIY pond, this could be good for my wallet. Side note, this spoon I was thinking about this the other day. I think this spoon has been with me for like 5 years. This little takeout soup spoon has really, like, I don't know, it's been so sturdy. Time to repot. So the first plant is one I didn't think it was going to pup, but it did. But to be totally honest, I don't know if I'm gonna have the heart to sell it, and it's this. This is my Carla that I got at IAS last year. This is from Phil at Stelmar Gardens. I got this from the Homebody. The newest leaf on this plant when I got it, that made me fall in love with this plant. It was starting to yellow, but this is what it looks like. It was like very spidery, it was very narrow, and it's always stayed pretty narrow. And that's the newest leaf there. I was hoping it was gonna stay like with very minimal secondary veins, like these ones that come here, but you know what? It's gorgeous. It's really dark. And then the offset, this is the newest leaf on it. So cute. It's actually kind of dry, which is, it's a good thing that we're dealing with it today. And then I was thinking of putting it into one of my better growth pots. We just have to decide on a color. I really like this orange one. It might look a little shocking inside of my tent, but that looks pretty cool. I don't think that green is the way to go for this plant, just because it makes the Carla itself look a little bit like it blends in a little bit too much. And then the last option is the translucent clear, which is also really nice. Honestly, it's equally nice in either pot, so I don't think I could go wrong. This will be living in my tent, so I feel like the orange might be a little bit wasted in there, so we'll go with the clear. I have a 10% coupon code for these if you're interested, or anything from the 3D printed line from Jomo Studio. If you're interested, I'll leave it in the description. I do earn a commission off it though, but it's a 3-part pot where there's a plate like this that sits here, so when you go to repot the plant, you just push the plate upwards and push the plant out rather than like try to wrestle with like a enclosed bottom or a closed bottom with drainage holes that the roots escape out of. I feel like you could, I don't know if this is the design, but there's a little kind of meshy hole. I feel like you could punch through here and insert a wick, and that can sit inside of this reservoir. But otherwise, if you don't do that, then this is just a drainage tray. Now I'm trying to think if I need a leca layer in this or not. I don't think I necessarily need, no, I don't think I need it. I'm looking at my Forgetti Carla because I planted that in this pot the other day, and I didn't use a leca layer in this one. And so this one is just like, it just catches as the runoff and it doesn't sit in any water. I feel like this is fine. I think if I were to do the wick thing and like punch through it and add a wick, I would do the leca layer, but I don't think it's necessary. Okay, let's see if this little offset has enough roots. I mean, there's quite a lot of roots in the substrate. I'm gonna shake off all the substrate here. This is tree fern soil. And this was the tree fern soil version that had the sea soil in it that hasn't been working so well with a lot of my plants, but this Carla didn't seem to mind at all. And then let's look at if the offset has, I think it has one big chunky root. Oh yeah, it does. Okay, so I don't know if you're gonna be able to see this. Here's the little offset, right? And then here's the base of it. And then this fat root here that's actively growing is attached to that offset. Now, I think it's a little risky to remove it, but we're going to do it anyways. There's a couple of ways that I typically do this. Oftentimes, I will just kind of pull it and kind of break it. But since you guys are watching me, I'm going to go in there and you're not going to be able to see very well, but I'm going to just snip it at the lowest point of the offset stem, the new stem that came off of the main Mary stem. So here's what I'm seeing from my point of view. This is the root that's coming off of this offset, and I believe the base of that offset is somewhere in this range, so I'm gonna cut it right here. Oh, not gonna lie, this is a little bit dicey, but that's what we got. I'm gonna immediately pot up the offset. And I'm gonna do something I always forget to do, which is put Great White directly on the roots dry rather than like mixing it with water and watering it through later. Just to monitor this root, I'm going to just pot it right on the edge here so I can make sure that it's continuing to grow. And then, oh, Great White, I almost forgot again. Just gonna tap a little bit directly on the root. In just looking at the size of that stem, I'm almost 100% sure I'm not going to be selling this at the plant show. Just because like I've never done one of these before, but I can imagine that it's pretty taxing on the plants. Like even just packing it into a bin, bringing it to the venue, unpacking it, and then having it sit on the table all day in ambient with people like handling it all day, it's probably a lot more destructive than even shipping a plant would be. So I'm pretty sure this one's gonna be living with me for a while, which I am not mad at because I love this Carla. Okay, this one is all done. Little bit nervous. I'm gonna grab a little cup for it so I can water it right away. This is Great White water here. So I'm just gonna water it just so it runs off a little bit, but I think that should be good. And then I think it's probably a good idea to get this directly into a bin or a dome. So say goodbye to baby Carla. Okay, now we can pot up the main plant. So that little offset removal, I would consider that pretty dicey in terms of how much root was already forming on the little pup. I would have much preferred that root to be longer or it started to branch off or maybe even a second one come off it. But since we're potting the mother plant into this pot, I just didn't really want to go in there again. If it doesn't make it, it's not the end of the world, but I feel like it should make it. The last tree fern bag I bought, because I usually buy the 40 liter bag and my wallet stings for a while, but it's the best value you can get. This bag has been so fluffy. You can get like really lucky sometimes and get a really nicely like even bag. The last bag I got had very like big matted chunks of like tangled tree fern, but this bag I've barely had to break it up at all, which is so nice. Okay, this one is now all potted up. I believe I potted it really low, but I think it looks fine because the petioles are gonna go downwards or horizontal, maybe even angling downwards anyways. So there's no point in trying to like elevate it a little bit more because it's eventually gonna go down. Water it with some Great White. I'm giving this one like a good amount of water because it was already due for water before we even started repotting. Just gonna give it a little bit more. I feel like this Carla is gonna be on caterpillars in the next leaf, which is very exciting. Okay, next up we have a plant that I definitely know there's roots on both sides, and it's this one. This is a Anthurium brielle. It was a stump from Charmaine's mother plant. I'm just gonna pop the photo of her brielle here. So this stump had 2 growth points, and both growth points have their own little set of leaves, its own root system. So I think this one's gonna be a little bit easier. Maybe not necessarily easier, but definitely less risky. I definitely overwatered this at one point. So this one I think has some wet rot. Yep, sure does. But if I remove all the mushy roots, there's still enough roots, I believe, to sustain each little pup. So this one here has more roots on that side, but this one, not so much. It's just this. But if I remove this one, it'll have all these roots for itself. And then I keep this one on the main stem with the main stem's roots. I think it should be enough for both. So this one's a lot easier to see. There's the stem coming off of the main stem, which is here. And I'm just gonna cut it right at the base like this. I don't know why every time I repot, I just want to talk to you guys about what I'm watching on TV. Have you guys watched Adolescence on Netflix? It is so good. We just watched this a couple weeks ago and we forced ourselves to not watch it all in one go because it's only 4 episodes and I already want to rewatch it because there's just so much to see that I know I probably missed a whole bunch. So it's like I'm not going to spoil anything. It's a British crime drama, but every episode is shot in one take. So it's beginning to end, one moving camera, no cuts. Stephen Graham was one of the creators and he stars in it as the dad. And the premise of it is a 13-year-old boy is arrested and accused of murder. And it's also really interesting because he's like done some podcasts on it and stuff and interviews, and he talks about the process of creating this show, and that's also very fascinating because they did it so well. But they basically made a 4-part play and it's so choreographed and everything had to be so tightly, like there was so much coordination that needed to happen. And knowing that it's done in one take, and you can really appreciate the camera work because they'll have like aerial drone shots and then it'll come back down to the ground level. So basically it's a drone doing an aerial shot and it comes down and there's a cameraman waiting there, has to catch the camera and then like continue going, and the actors are coming in and out. It's very, very it's very impressive, but also it can be kind of gimmicky. Like that's the whole reason, that just to watch the camera work. But I feel like that style also plays into like you can't really take your eyes off it. It's quite dark and parts of it are quite disturbing. So that's my warning to you, but it is very good and I really highly recommend it. Apparently the main kid, the one that gets arrested, has never done any screen work, any screen acting. He's only done a bit of theater and that's it. And he's very, very talented. Okay, both of them are now potted up. Number one, this is the one that had less roots, but it's attached to the main stem. And this is the little offset that I cut the whole thing off. I want to say they came from a domed tray. I think I'm going to put it back in there. Okay, next one is a Clarinervium. This absolute cutie pie. Look how cute it is. This is one I found in a place called 99 Nursery, 99, no, Art Nap Nursery. I was there with Charmaine and I didn't want the Clarinervium because at that point I kind of had sworn off Clarinerviums because I was like, I can't grow them. So I made Charmaine buy it and she gave me the stump and I love this thing. And I've been actually doing okay with it. So there's 2 separate plants in here. This is one plant and this is one plant. And I want to separate it. I think at some point I'm going to get myself a regular, like classic Clarinervium. Right now I only have this one and the Queen Clary, which neither of them look like a classic. Well, they do look like Clarinervium, but they don't look like the classic Clarinervium. But now that I feel like I am getting the hang of it and just letting them dry out completely, I think I can do it. So both sides have a like full-on root system. I think I can probably just pull them apart like this and just untangle the roots. So here's one, and then here's the bigger half. I did really like how bushy it looked when it was together, but once this is separated, maybe it'll get going a little bit more. I'm going to just reuse the pot for one of them since it seemed super happy in the substrate. It's basically my tree fern soil, but more barky and a lot more drainy. And then we'll use a new substrate on the littler one. So that one is done. I'm gonna give it just a little bit of water. I'm just gonna do that much. I didn't water it really deeply. It's still fairly light, but I think this one's gonna go back on my shelf, like right here. And then this one, I'm wondering, should I put it into the same size pot? Am I gonna sell it realistically or am I gonna keep it? because if I'm going to sell it, I will put it in a smaller pot. So if I ship it or if I have to transport it to the show, it'll be easier. Okay, I'm running so, this is all I have of the medium square pots and it's freaking me out a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna put it into something smaller. I have this little round pot that might work. That's pretty cute. Okay, let's do that. So this weekend is going to be, by the time this video goes out, the weekend, it's already the weekend of the event. One of my favorite garden centers here in Vancouver. It's not technically Vancouver, but it's in the greater Vancouver area called Vandula Farms. They're doing their event, which is the Epigenera pop-up, which they do every year or have done for quite a few years. And Daryl from Houseplant Journal is going to be there doing a little talk. And I think they usually have like food trucks, and it's just going to be really a nice springy day. Vandula also has like a side marketplace that has their produce and other produce from farms around here. And every time I go there, I get one of their fruit pies. I usually get a peach pie. I'm so looking forward to it. Now that fruit is so expensive, I want fruit, so I just want fresh fruit so bad. But I can't get fresh fruit unless I want to pay like $6 for a papaya. And the fruits that are a lot more accessible, like apples, I do not like apples. Okay, it's one of the fruits I almost refuse to eat. I do not enjoy apples. I don't know why. I like apple pie, but mainly I like tropical fruits, and it's taunting me. I want to buy fruit, but I cannot justify the price. But since it's not even peach season, I am very much looking forward to a frozen peach pie from Vandula. But all that to say, I think I will be filming at least part of the show, and I hope to not bring home any plants, but that is never a guarantee. But if I do bring home some plants, maybe it will be an orchid. Okay, I'm gonna water this a little bit later off camera, and let's move on to the last plant, which is the one that I wanted to put in the substrate, is this BIP. So I sent a chunk of this to Owen. I think it's almost been 2 years. Oh my goodness. And he's been growing it so much darker than me, and his seems to grow faster. I think it's still a little bit smaller, but it just looks better overall. And he just showed me the roots on his. There are like no roots in here, or possibly whatever roots there were rotted. Let's see what is going on. So this is definitely sea soil, tree fern soil, judging by my eyes. Oh my gosh, this root system is pitiful. Look at that. It's so tiny. There's some root rot. It could just be because it's too dense, but this substrate is not a substrate that this plant evidently wants to root into, because there's just not a lot of new roots. The only new root I can see, where is it? Right here. There's a nice, fresh, growing root right here. But other than that, it's all kind of like old, half-rotted roots. Okay, I don't think it would hurt to put it into a big pot, but in the new substrate that is very rocky. This plant is fairly big. I think it would look a little bit silly in a pot this size, you know? So I'm gonna get the same size. Do I have any more of those? I am so pot poor right now, and I really want to just order like a big case of these square plant pots from like Alibaba or whatever, but I'm trying to save my money for a light fixture. I did a little like living room kind of decor update. Was this like 2 months ago or something like that? And I was talking about I wanted my dining room pendant, and I put in a sample photo of the Herman Miller Nelson bubble lamp, but in the I guess it's the bubble shape one. It looks like a flying saucer shape, and I was like, I'm not gonna get that one, but the more I look, I think it has to be that one. And I'm just trying to save my money. You guys, I don't know how I've lived my life on the income that I earn, because I was doing some finances the other day to do my taxes, and I'm like, wait, how have I been able to live all year? And I want to say I don't live like ultra frugally, but I don't live lavishly, but I don't think I deny myself, like I travel at least once a year in the last few years and like I treat myself to stuff. I don't know. I honestly don't know how I've put a roof over my head, but I was honestly shocked to see how I was able to live off so little, like so much less than I used to live off of. And I think the main thing is because I just say no to myself for almost everything. Like you guys, I wear the same 3 things. I don't buy clothes. I have like 5 shirts. So at this point, I've been self-employed for long enough to have gotten used to financial uncertainty, because when you're self-employed and like especially if you're on YouTube, you just never know what's going to be coming in every month. At this point, I'm only half self-employed and then the other half I work for a company. I just work part-time, so it's a lot more stable than it used to be. But I have been in this situation long enough that I've realized that I've trained myself to, it takes a lot for me to want something. So it's not even that I want a bunch of stuff. I'm just like denying myself the opportunity to buy it. I've inadvertently trained myself to just not want anything by default, and then it really has to grow on me in order for me to buy it. So even though in times of this when I'm repotting, I'm like freaking, I just need to order those pots. In general, I find it really easy to just live without, in the name of like saving up to buy something I really, really want, because I really want that Herman Miller pendant. And it's just like, it's so iconic and it's such a good design. I think I mainly realized this when we came back from our most recent trip to the UK when we were in Iceland. Iceland was the last leg back, like on our way back home. And at that point, I had not bought anything to bring back with me. I had not brought any clothes. I had not brought any like souvenirs, little like knickknacks or whatever. I had no objects to bring back to remember this trip by. But it wasn't like I was actively trying not to buy anything. It was just like I didn't want anything enough to buy it. And I think that I really, like that was one part of losing a bunch of income when I quit my job, that while there was parts of it that were like, oh my gosh, I was getting really stressed about finances. And that's part of the reason why I took on this part-time job. But I'm honestly so grateful, because it's just taught me to naturally consume less. And I'm naturally not a minimal person. I'm still not a minimalist whatsoever. I like things a lot. I'm a sucker for good marketing. I'm a sucker for a lot of things. I'm a sucker for nice things. I think I just really like nice things. So given the choice, I usually try to go for like the best quality version of whatever I need to get in general. When it comes to bigger purchases, because I have to be so careful with my finances, I've become naturally so picky, and it's been a lot easier for me to say no to things. So I don't know how we got on that topic, but I need plant pots. Probably not going to get any, or I'm not going to get many anytime soon. Actually, Charmaine's been moving away from the square plant pots and she's going towards round pots. So every time she unpots a plant out of the square pot, she gives me her square pot, which has been really nice. I think at the end of the day, I really didn't have much of a point when I began that tangent, but here we are. This plant is done. I am unpleasantly surprised to see how little roots was on it, but hopefully it decides to root out more in this substrate. But that kind of explains its growth rate, because it has like no root to sustain itself. I gave this one a pretty deep watering, and I'm gonna let it sit in the runoff. I'm gonna pop it back in my tent. It lives just at the very, very back where the light is less intense. Anyways, that is it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for joining me in this little plant tour session. I'll definitely keep you guys updated on this substrate. I guess this version of tree fern substrate that's a lot rockier than what I'm used to. If that ends up being the saving grace for my BIP, I will just be over the moon so happy, because that plant, I love it so much, but it just does not love me back. I hope you guys have been having a lovely and restful day so far. I love you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Mwah!